It's a pleasure to be here. I have been quite regular with EQ conferences and enjoy being here. So thank you very much for inviting me here. We have a very elite session over here, and we would be discussing rooftop and distributed solar. What are the challenges that are being faced by this particular sector or subsector of the solar sector? While we would certainly come to the issue of distributed solar, a little bit about how we intend to organize the session. I would request each panelist to introduce himself for about a minute, what he is doing, what his company is involved into it, what is his role, and which are the areas on which he would like to concentrate during his remarks. I will do it myself as well. And once we have done for 5-7 minutes, we have heard each of the panelists what are the burning issues in the subsector. Then we would have discussion on the key issues, and then we will throw it open to all of you to ask questions. Please be specific while asking questions. Recognize, identify yourself, your name, your affiliation, and the person to whom you are asking the question. So to begin with, I'm Balawant Joshi, and as Anand mentioned, I'm MD of Idam Infra. We are a consulting organization, very active in the rooftops space because we are running two major projects supported by Government of India. One is called PSD, which is supported by Government of US, and under that we are working in 8-9 states in the country, essentially supporting distribution companies in interconnection processes or regulators in net metering regulations or SNAs in the subsidy related issues. We have also been involved developing some IT tools for these entities. And the second project is which we have bagged is World Bank supported, support to SBI and MNRE for supporting 14 states. There are some common states, but so as a result, we are working in 15-16 states certainly on the rooftop related issues. Having said that, Anand mentioned 40,000 megawatt is a target for rooftop sector. That's true, and what we have achieved actually nobody knows. Okay, there are some best estimates put up by MNRE, put up by Bridge to India. So these consultancy organizations, we have got our own estimates because we work very closely with the state nodal agencies in so many states. So, but I think the general consensus is we have got around between 2,000 to 2,500 megawatt of rooftop capacity right now operating in the country. So that's a kind of a ballpark number, and we have to achieve 40,000 megawatt by 2022. Again, there are some government communications which say that that target has been scaled down to 20,000 megawatt, but to the best of my knowledge, it has not been officially announced as a 20,000 megawatt. So at least as of now, the official target for all of us to achieve is 40,000 megawatt, and including for the government. Since we work as a consultant, we interact with a lot of developers, and as a part of our process, we have collected a lot of information about the challenges being faced by the developers or SNAs or the other stakeholders. What I would do is that I would request the players to mention what challenges they are facing, what are the burning issues they are facing, and at the end, I will come back with other stakeholders because I can clearly sense that there is nobody from the distribution companies here or there is nobody from the state nodal agencies over here. But there are challenges which they also face, okay? And since we work with them, we are a little bit aware of what challenges they face. So what I will do is that I will start with Subhrangshu and would request him to first introduce himself and then state what challenges he sees for the sector. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. First of all, I would like to thank EQ to give us a beautiful platform to discuss all about. I am Shubhrangshu Bhattacharya. I'm from Everest Industries Limited. Basically, Everest Industries Limited is an 85 years old company. They're into roofing. And since last 1.5 years, Everest is in solar rooftop EPC. And I am looking after the procurement and supply chain of this company. I will start with a very small fact. Since I mean, it's a matter of 10-12 days back. We have quoted for a project for a 500 kilowatt system. We lost that, and the lowest bid was some around 38 rupees, including 1 year O&M. I mean, complimentary O&M for 1 year. I think this is one of the biggest challenge from a procurement perspective to achieve the prices for in the current market scenario. And uh, and basically there are many aspects. To land up with this 38 rupees or 37 rupees price, there are many inner facts between that in this actually. So we will discuss later on. Let us have another our fellow panelists introductions. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you. Uh, what do you think, Uday, about this 38 rupees? You are the technical services provider. You do a lot of audits, look at the technical side of the projects. Where do you see this typical 38 rupees per watt peak project heading?
That's one of the, first of all, good afternoon. My name is Uday Doshi. I represent Excelsior Engineering Solutions. We are a technical service provider in the solar domain. We've done close to 950 megawatt of projects pan India with little over 86 projects. We typically work with solar EPC companies, INC companies, IPPs, either in the format of design engineering or a plant audit or owner's engineering, lender's engineering, quality management. These are our specialized niche services which are tailor made for each project. We support also, we work with several companies in their pre-sales where we assist them, guide them, what based on their design to quote for it. And absolutely, I agree with Subhranshu that today the market is purely price driven, which is absolutely disastrous for the industry. There could be two options. Like it's similarly like buying a vehicle. Options should be there, but we have to understand that it is not only the cheapest is the best or something. This is a power plant that you are making, which is supposed to last for 20 years. It comes with the set of things, for example its own protection. Whether probably on a rooftop you may only be required to walk on that particular roof to dismantle the modules once in 5 years, but whether do you have the correct walkways? The lightning may strike only once in 20 years. Do you have the correct DC protection or the surge protection? These are so many ifs are built into a project which have been discarded in the recent history. And with the megawatt projects, again, the PP is falling down. A lot of the companies have started focusing on the rooftop, and it's a severely competition, it's a very highly competitive market. Rather than focusing on saying that, my engineering is better or I provide you these additional features, the only factor to deciding factor on the orders is I'm the cheapest. This is a worrisome trend. And I absolutely agree with Subhranshu that as a panelist or as peers among the industry, this is something we should not encourage for all the customers. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Uday. It is certainly worrisome trend that the cheapest is the best is what, but Indian consumer is always considered as a very cost conscious. We give a very glorious name, cost conscious, and try to hide everything under the carpet, and really don't look at quality. And my personal experience is that this is not only true for solar projects, but this is also true for consulting work what we do. So typically the client is more interested in having L1 than really looking at the quality of the person or quality of the output or the company. But I think somehow with the kind of legacy which we have inherited over a long period of time, nobody means from the SNA point of view or in the distribution company point of view, when I talk to them, the one thing which comes back very very clearly saying that with CAG and CVC on their back, they are not going to implement any criteria other than L1. Okay, your quality may be whatever, but nobody wants to land up in a soup with CVC inquiry or CAG comments. So, in fact, I wanted to ask Subhranshu, was this client a private sector client or a public sector client? Because if it's a private sector client, then it is even more worrisome. Because private sector client,
It's a
at
private
least,
sector client. Actually.
that's crazy. But I think that's the way it's going to be. Let me come back to Jhankro Shah and request him to give his opening remarks and what challenges he sees.
Hi everyone, my name is Jhankrut Shah. I lead all risk management activities for Cleantech Solar. So Cleantech is a pan-Asia solar rooftop developer, mainly for commercial and industrial customers. We have operations in and assets in 8 countries across Asia, but India certainly is, our leading market with 70 to 65 to 70% of our assets in this country with leading players. So as the head of risk, I started off mainly on the financial risk side, and now I look after a few operational risks. I think I do have a kind of a different insight into the risks of rooftop solar. As a developer, we take on a 20 years receivables exposure on a client in any specific industry. And I have seen more often than not, developers are relying on publicly published credit ratings or issuer ratings, as they are called, to take a call on whether the client is investable or not. As a credit professional myself, I would just like to first explain that these credit ratings are published with a point of view of 3 to 5 years probability of default. Over 20 years, there is literally no agency who publishes a credit rating. So, it's important to understand at the outset what is the credit risk that the company is taking on its books of accounts when they are signing a power purchase agreement. The issuer rating is certainly an extremely good starting point, assuming that the source of capital in this case is in INR, so you're not taking on any additional forex exposure. However, it's important to note whether this client will survive for 20 years. If not, will the plant survive for 20 years? For example, the steel companies right now that are defaulting on their bank loans most likely might be taken over by another company, and the plant would continue functioning. And probably they would want to continue a solar asset should there be one on the rooftop, as it gives lower than grid tariff sort of benefit to the client. So certainly, I would say credit risk for a solar developer is one of the most important risks to manage, and probably should be done actively rather than just by relying on published agency reports.
That's interesting. I had one small question. My understanding of the credit rating is that it's for a particular instrument. It really isn't on the credit quality of the customer. Okay. So how do you really deal with this particular issue?
All right, thanks. That's a good question there. So credit ratings that are published are typically for two types of things. One is the issuer rating that is specifically for the corporate. In cases of a large group, it's a CFR or a corporate family rating that is published often by rating agencies. And for each loan or each different kind of exposure that the company takes on its books, there is a separate rating for each loan. So for example, a senior secured facility would be rated higher than a senior unsecured facility that the company takes. Typically, I come from a global rating agency background, so I can talk from a Moody's and S&P perspective. An issuer rating is the equivalent of rating any unsecured instrument that the company will issue. So as solar developers, we are operational creditors for the company, ranking pari passu with any unsecured debt that the company has in the legal framework, which is why I would take the issuer rating as the starting point for any analysis.
Okay, I think that's interesting. But this also would mean SMEs won't feature in your client list.
Sorry.
SMEs, small and medium enterprises, won't feature in your client list, or not many of them.
Well, I mean, That may be true because the starting point of my analysis would be low. But I would definitely look at the location. So if it's a small plant, but if it's in, I don't know, let's say MIDC or a well industrialized area, for a small automotive engineering company based out of Chennai, the location is certainly so good that I can be sure that with the existence in a good supply chain and with relationships with A-list customers, this plant will certainly survive for 15 years, if not the company. So it's more like a combination of a business and credit decision that we end up taking when smaller companies come to us for with a solar ask.
Thank you. Because the way the government of India or even the SN is looking at it, they see all MNCs, AAA rated client, being going away from the distribution companies and installing solar power plants. But SMEs and lower credit rating installations, are not really attracting the solar related investments, especially in the RESCO mode. Uh, Thank you for your explanation. May I now request Suhas to talk about rely on and what challenges do you see in terms of rooftop solar?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is a very unique time. Immediately after lunch, it's really encouraging to see all almost full. I'm Suhas Pansare. I represent Rely on Solar Private Limited. We are leading EPC company in rooftop and distributed power segment, consistently in top 5 of India. Our installation base spans 16 states of India, including Tripura and Assam, Northeast. Because when we talk about India, most of the time in our mind we keep talking about the big states. What differentiates us, or what is that Reliance Solar brings to table, is we believe that we bring solutions to our customers rather than only setting up and building up the plants. We are 8-year-old company, and over the years we have learned from our own mistakes as well. Latest developments that we did is into single axis tracker. With the falling prices of solar panels, people still are skeptical whether it will make sense. But we believe that the industry has to mature, the prices of the panels as well as the projects will stabilize. This tracker offers unique advantages. 3 years ago, there was another product we launched that those times the net metering was not omnipresent, and reverse power flowing into the grid was a big issue. We have a controller which can uniformly control the output power from solar power plant in line with the load. So these are a couple of examples, and I'm not going to take this as a sales and marketing pitch of Reliance Solar. But coming to the challenges, I feel the market, the segment is still an immature mode. And it's not only about our customers, but even all the stakeholders, including EPC, the developers. Earlier speakers mentioned about falling prices, lower cost, and different numbers. I fear that would people reach sometimes below even 1 rupee. What is missing? And Balwant mentioned that Indians have a tendency to go for low cost. When are we going to talk about quality? I feel when I am in front of customers, the only discussion that customer is interested is to look at the price. Jankrosh just now mentioned about 25 years of lifespan. Whether it is capex, the investment made by end customer is very high. In case of OPEX, the developer is taking that risk. None of us have seen 25 years of operations of a plant. What does it make for a plant to operate for 25 years at the rated generation levels? I think that is a critical question each of us need to ask and give an answer. I think that's one of the biggest problem I feel today when we talk about a rooftop segment. I would add more as we go into the panel discussion. Thank you, Balwant.
Yeah, I think we are revolving around the cost issue a lot, and there are a lot of other challenges also in the sector. May I request Niranjan, when I was introduced to him, he introduced from Bosch. I said, what Bosch does in solar? But what he explained to me actually opened my eyes that they do a lot more than what I thought in the solar segment. So can you just elaborate on the challenges which are, of course, other than pricing or the cost-related challenges that the sector faces?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I work in Bosch. Bosch Energy and Building Solutions is, I must say, is a kind of a startup of Bosch, Robert Bosch India. We are there. We are just a brief introduction about Bosch. I mean, we are a 130-year-old company based out of Stuttgart. With close to the interesting part about Bosch is that out of the 70 billion euro, what they do turnover, about 7% of the sales is invested into R&D. And in India, we are there from 1951 onwards, and there are we are about 14 factories. Primarily, Bosch is known for its automotive segment as much as we are both there in the mobility as well as the non-mobility solution segments. So coming to Bosch Energy and Building Solutions, where I represent Bosch as a national sales head, we are both on the supply as well as the demand side. We are the only company which is on the supply side when I'm talking about offering as an EPC turnkey solution providers. And also on the energy efficiency side, we are offering, on the demand side, we are offering energy efficiency solutions to various industries. It could be in various different segments of the industries. So what I find as a challenge here in the solar segment, the first most important thing is that if you look at the 40 gigawatts target, what is there, we are just about 1.3 gigawatt, what we have achieved as of December 2017. We are a very long way off. Even if you have an exponential growth by 2022, probably you will end up at probably about 13 gigawatts. But what is the major challenge what we face is that when we go out to pitch the solar solutions to various customers, probably we focus more on the multinational companies, European-based companies, which are looking at quality, or the top Indian companies. When we go, we find that the price being the most important thing. I mean, this is always there on the top of the mind. As much as price is the issue, I mean, since it has already been addressed by Suhas as well as price and quality. Quality, I think, is the biggest bugbear, I would say, because it is, if you look at the recent survey as well, out of the total installations done, most of the CEOs of solar companies who were interviewed, they said that about at least 60% of the installations were not up to the mark. Whether they would last for the next 20 years is a big question mark. And for that, when they were talking about credit risk, when they're talking about the investment risk itself is going to be a big concern. So when you're out there in front of the customers, the first thing they talk about is the price, which they keep on this thing. Second is we come across challenges in terms of net metering policies itself. If solar has to grow, rooftop solar has to grow in a very big way, I think net metering policies have to be harmonized across different states and made it far more easier for the commercial and especially in the commercial and industrial space for the for the users to avail these benefits. And also I feel that if rooftop has to grow, it should also expand into the residential segments as well. It's only then we can have this kind of a growth of about 40 gigawatts. With that, I would like to end this, and probably we will come up with more discussions as we go along.
Yep. Thank you very much. In fact, you have raised a very important issue about the net metering policies. I think after price, I think that is probably the most challenging part which is faced by the solar rooftop developers. So if any of the panelists would like to elaborate on what are the challenges. See, net metering has got several aspects. Okay, there are challenges with respect to your contract demand, there are challenges with respect to your DT capacity, there are challenges, these are technical challenges I am referring to. Okay, there are challenges with respect to the utility processes. How do you really look at the utility processes? There are some of these processes are really important from the utility point of view. Okay, and so what are these specific challenges within the net metering, and what do you think is a acceptable solution or proposed solution for these challenges? Any one of the panelists?
I think the biggest challenge is accountability. We talk about being in Maharashtra, there are discoms like Tata, R-Infra, as well as MSEB. The funniest part about MSEB, within the vicinity of Mumbai where we've implemented, we've seen everybody's bill, the format is different. That boggles my mind. How can a subdivision circle of different parts of Mumbai have different format of billing? Point number two, it has taken close to, on an average, 5 months period of time from the time we initiate the process of net metering. It goes to your main circle office, subdivision office, and most of the time my engineer is the one who is taking the file and saying, sir, please get it approved, invert, outward. There is absolutely no accountability. See, on the contract demand side, I don't think so that much can be done from as an EPC or a system integrator, from the transformer sizing and all that. Those are the regulations, very well designed regulations are there, where they've even said if the transformer capacity is not much or if it misses it, it is at the MSAB or at the DISCOM to decide whether to approve it. The regulation wise, I think it's a very well worded document. But when it comes down to implementation of such, we've seen either the members hate the idea of going solar. In my own personal experience, I've seen right after that, few of the officials have approached the end customer and said, you should not go for solar. This is not anybody's else story. This is my own personal projects that I'm talking about. And that has baffled us. Why would somebody really go and do that? His job is to do the processing of net metering, not give his personal opinion. And when we said fair enough, put it and give us in writing the same statement. And he's kind of pyar se threatened us. Do you really want your file to proceed ahead or no? So these kind of things is something that, these are not purely technical challenges. On the paper it's written, within few other states except for Maharashtra, they said within 60 days the clearance or the process should be completed. Again, my point is, where is the accountability? Where is the penalty clause that in case you don't do so, a check in place by somebody superior that why has this file not been cleared? At least in net metering in Maharashtra, it's been close to 18 months or little over it. Yet, the meters have to be procured by the system integrator who is doing the job. The same is not applicable in Tata Power. Tata Power says you fill up one document and they are the ones who keep following up. Arey sir, is your installation done? We would like to process it and get it done. One single window application. We faced another challenge recently in Goregaon where it was a customer who had a Tata billing on an R infra backup thing. We had to go to MERC to say that please sort out this mess because they both are fighting, saying that who gets the RPO obligation at what rate and all that stuff. And the installation was completed, but the project was closed or it was not commissioned for at least 4 months because the net metering was not put in place. And we wanted to go by the books or by the regulation, saying that we are not going to start it up because we have not put a reverse power flow relay. And any justification that why it's taken us 4 months, there's absolutely no response to that. So these were few challenges related to net metering, if I say. On the technical front, I really don't see it. The market is quite mature. The meters given by Secure or HBL are quite there. The companies assist, saying if it is an LT customer or an HT customer, the makes are there, the models are there, everything is there. But when I talk about even after 18 months or a year and a half, if MSCB, I have to go procure the material, I have to give it to the MSCB testing labs based on the specification given by them. Why has those meters not been purchased by them? So there, I still don't see it that whether this issue would be sorted out in next 6 months. It's not that the meters were not available or the technology was not in place. And when will we have actually a single window with a 60-day or a 90-day accountability? That's it.
Yep, quite passionate.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm trying to answer one of the question he has raised, that what is accountability, who should do that? 2 months ago, there was a renewable energy conference in Pune, and a very senior level official from MSCDCL was invited to inaugurate the session, not the session, the conference. And he roared over there saying that my role is to make sure MSCDCL's operations. My KRA is not to run your solar company. do not ask me why net metering is going to take so much time. It is your problem, you have to solve it. So I'm trying to answer Uday some of your questions on his behalf. The challenge is we have a three-tier system. The central government led by MNRE, SECI, they are really setting up very good targets. They are trying to promote solar. At the ground level, consumers are really interested in setting up these systems, whether it is some residential, industrial, commercial and others. But the middle layer, because the power sector falls in concurrent list, center as well as state governments. And that is where the state governments, and how many states we have, those many governments have different policies. There is no driving force. And they think this is a competition. Today at 1.3 gigawatt, you mentioned 1.3, right? At that level of power, which is not even 1% of our total power generation, if discoms think threatened, imagine if we really reach 40,000 megawatt, then how much it is going to be competition to them. So on one side, why I empathize their concern, but I give another example at that point of time. In 90s, when our economy was opening up, I remember all the banks and their unions were dead against computerization. You ask today each of the bank employees, and they are happy, there are computers, their offices are air conditioned. I don't think there were many jobs lost, or at least today nobody repents on that. I'm sure solar industry is also going in that direction. The mindset needs to be changed. The ground level policies, regulation and attitude needs to change.
Thank you, Suhas. Very interesting discussion. I wouldn't conclude anything from what I'm going to say. I will leave it to you to conclude. Under Section 9 of the Act, it is the responsibility of the transmission company to provide connectivity up to the generating substation for any project which is to be connected at the transmission system. Today you will find practically all the renewable energy projects and many of the conventional projects having installed the transmission system at their cost and transferred it to the transmission company at a zero cost. As a result of that, both losing depreciation, okay, and still system is operating. I think I will leave it over here, okay, for you to arrive at your own conclusion. But I think that's a challenge. In terms of the distribution company's response, see, you are taking away their best paying C&I consumers. Cleantech won't install anything which is less than triple B, or even not for triple B. So the best paying consumers with the maximum bill on which the discom is dependent, you are taking away, and you are asking them to be happy about it. Okay, it's not going to happen. See, the response of Tatas and Reliance is different for different reasons. If you look at their distribution companies, domestic tariffs. Domestic tariff of Tatas is 7 rupees, 8 rupees, right? In fact, the highest tariff is in BST area where I live, I pay more than 10 rupees a unit average charge. Okay, so and that's actually decides the response of the distribution company. And the comment which I hear, I hear it across this country from the many states. Some states are a little bit okay, some states are dead against it, and Maharashtra being among the latter category, at least from the public distribution company point of view. So net metering regulation, the one thing which MNRE is doing, let me talk a little bit on MNRE side. MNRE is trying to promote solar rooftop transaction portals. We are developing one for a couple of utilities, and this would essentially hopefully streamline the process of approvals and would bring in accountability. MNRE is insisting, saying that you provide for triggers, that if this approval is not given within 7 days, it would be escalated to the higher level. But again, all these are tools and those will be effective only if management wants them to be effective. Okay.